Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to be working on writing the equation of a line. What that means is we're going to start with a graph that already has a line on it, but we do not know what the y equals mx plus b is. So we're going to try to pick out our m and pick out our b and use that from the information to complete the equation. Alright, so let's review what we've already been doing. So up until now we've been given slope and y-intercept, and we've been given those points, and using that we're able to graph the paper. Well, since we know y equals mx plus b, it's very easy to get this information. Okay, we can graph the line using only those two pieces of information, and we just look, oh, okay, m is in front of x, b is in front of y. Now we did, or is to the right of the x. We also looked at in standard form how to take the opposite of a over b. But we don't need to do that for this because when you're writing an equation, you always write it in y equals mx plus b form because there's too many different ways you could write a standard form equation, whereas there's only one way to write a slope-intercept equation with the correct y-intercept and the correct slope. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at, okay, we already have a line on a piece of paper. What I need to know is what is the equation of that line. We're going to then extend that to things like finding the equation from just 2 points, not even the whole line. Finding that equation with only 1 point and knowing what tilt of the line is, things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically start off with a blank equation where we have our m is missing and our b is missing. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to identify that. So we're going to start off with our y-intercept. Well, y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis. So what we're looking for is we're looking for this place right there where it hits the y-axis. Okay, that happens to be at 3. We know that every y-intercept is written as 0, 3, or 0, 5, or 0, -10, whatever. Okay, so now we have our y-intercept. We can go ahead right away and write that into our problem. It's as simple as that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to write in our slope. In order to do that, we need 2 points. When we have 2 points, we can make a slope triangle and count. So if I pick a second point, and I can look on the line and look for a lot of different points. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for a spot where the line hits directly in one of these sort of T shapes right here. It needs to hit directly in there. If it doesn't hit directly on the point, then it's not a good example to use. So as you look at the graph on your paper, look for examples where that would make sense. So as I look, I'm looking down here, I'm noticing that there are a few around here that work. For example, there's one right here. Okay. There's one right here which works really well. And all around you can see different points. So the one I choose is that one right there. Okay, I in general like to pick one up from the thing so I can use my up and left or up and right things I remember, but it would work either way. And now what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to count. I count 1, 2, 3 up, and I count 4 over, which makes a slope of 3 over 4. You're not quite done. You still need to decide, is that a uphill or downhill? Is it a positive or negative line? In this case, it's positive. It goes up and to the right. So that means my answer is positive. And now I can go ahead and write in my slope, which is 3 over 4. Okay, because we've now completed our equation, y equals mx plus b, we are done with the problem, and that's all there is to it. It's just about identifying the information and piecing it together into an equation. It's very important because as we go forward, we're going to not be given the whole equation, we'll only be given parts of it, and you can still use that information to figure it out if you know how to do speed graphing and you know how to read a graph in terms of y-intercept and slope. So we're going to go ahead and give one try on our own. In fact, we're going to give a few a try on our own. Remember, you want to identify the slope and the y-intercept and see if you can fill in the blank. So go ahead and pause it, start with the y-intercept, and then find a second point and count your slope triangle. All right, so hopefully what you noticed is that the y-intercept is right there, okay, at -5. Because the y-intercept's at -5, that means in my equation I'm going to have a -5 right there. Notice I did put a plus sign, so it would be plus a -5, or you could go ahead and cross that off and put -5 instead if you prefer. Now we're looking for a second point. So if you haven't done it yet, pause it. But if you have, we're just going to keep going in a second and check your answer. All right, so now finding the y-intercept, we found a second point, which is right there. It looks like what I do is I go up 2 over 1. So I count up 2 and over 1. So I'm going to go ahead and make my equation 2 over 1. The idea now is to decide, is this a line a negative line or a positive line? It is, in fact, a negative. So from there, then, I can go ahead and write my final equation. Now, remember, we don't put 2 over 1 in the actual equation. We would just put negative 2. So it's like it's going backwards. We add the 1 when we write the slope. We take away the 1 when we go ahead and write it as an equation. Go ahead and pause the video again. Try to find the slope and y-intercept. Go as far as you'd like, but it's fine if you just want to do one step, which is to find the y-intercept. All right, so here we're going to start with the y-intercept. You should notice the y-intercept is right there at 7. Now we're going to look for another point somewhere. Okay, again, I like to move up if at all possible. Notice that I move up 1, and then I move over a total of 5. Again, my slope is up 1 for every 5 over. Now I need to decide, is this a positive or negative line? Because I notice it's downhill, that must mean it is a negative line, and I can copy that into my equation. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, give this one a try as well. Alright, so starting off with the y-intercept, you should notice it crossed it right there at negative 1, which means in my answer, I have a negative 1. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and find a second point to plot. For me, I notice there's one way up here. Now there are closer ones, but I wanted to show you as an example that it doesn't matter if you grab the closest one or further one out as long as you're able to simplify the fraction at the end. So now when I make my slope triangle, I'm going to go up a total of 5 and over a total of 5 again. So really what I have is 5 over 5. I'm going to decide if it's positive or negative. In this case, positive. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify that and put it into my equation. 5 over 5 simplifies to 1 over 1. So my answer is 1x plus a negative 1, or 1x minus 1. Go ahead now and try this one. Notice the line is very steep, so you should expect it to be a whole number, or at least a larger number on top of the fraction. So go ahead and pause the video while you try it. Hit play when you're finished. All right, so we're going to start off with the y-intercept, which is right there at 2. From there, we're going to go ahead and pick a second point somewhere. I notice that there's one right there, okay, at 1,6. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slope triangle. I'm going to notice it goes to the right 1 and up a total of 4. That equals 4 over 1. I need to decide if it's positive or negative. In this case, it's uphill, so it's positive. So my equation is, my slope is positive. And finally, again, we don't with the 1 as in our answer, so we're going to go ahead and write it as positive 4. Okay, go ahead and try this one out as well. All right, so start off with the y-intercept. You have to be a little bit careful because the y-intercept is in dead center, which means it is at 0, 0. Now I'm going to pick another point, so I can make a slope triangle. I'm going to go up 2 and over 4. I'm going to decide if this is a positive or negative line. It is in fact a negative line. Now when I simplify 2 over 4, it's going to simplify out to 1/2. So my final answer is negative 1/2 x. Now you may be asking yourself, do I have to put the plus 0? No, in fact, what you could also do just as easily, if you wanted to make it simple, is you could just go ahead and leave your answer as negative 1/2 x, and that would be correct as well. So hopefully this video helped you guys out with this. I'm prepared a little quiz below that I want you guys to take. That's going to show me as a check-in form that you've done the video in class. And then what we're going to do is we're going to proceed on to finding the slope between 2 points and extending that to give us the equation, because all we need between 2 points is a slope and a y-intercept to graph any kind of line possible. So make sure you're able to do that and ask for help if you need it.